As an early summer sun rises in Idaho,
Morning.
A group of riders prepare to mount up.
Oh, buddy, what do you think? Huh?
For an annual pilgrimage into the heart of Idaho.
Oh, it's going to be a beautiful ride today.
It's a beautiful day. You can't beat this.
So you're on Widowmaker with Lori, right?
When you get up in God's country, it's pretty darn amazing.
It's in Idaho few who actually make the decisions about how this land is managed get to see up close and personal.
Get them out and get them on our playing field instead of sitting across the desk from them in the office.
And at the heart of it all, it's about improving
relationships. Yeah, it's all about getting to know who you work with so you can be more effective on the ground.
Every year for 14 years, Idaho Governor Butch Otter
All right, let's ride.
brings a diverse group of individuals together in hopes that they can work more closely, more cooperatively on issues that affect them all.
You get out of the boardrooms and you get out of those offices in Washington, D.C., and you get away from the maps, and all of a sudden, there's real things to touch. You're not looking at a map with squiggly lines on it that says this is a hill, or this is a valley, or this is a stream. Now all of a sudden you're seeing the stream and you can get wet, or it's dry. And that changes the management plan for the people that are born to this land and that operate the land.
Every year, Governor Otter's annual trail ride visits a different part of the state with different but equally complex public land use challenges. Landowners, ranchers, state and federal officials try to leave their preconceived notions about each other on the trail, and it isn't always easy.
Sometimes you have to fight to be friends.
The Idaho Cattlemen's Association plays host to this annual event.
This is just an opportunity for us to get some of those agencies and individuals out on the back of a horse and more of the rancher's element, and to where they can really see it on the ground and see the effects of those management practices that maybe in a book someone says is supposed to take place, but on the ground it doesn't work as effectively.
In years past, the ride has focused on salmon habitat or forest management practices, even timber harvest. Some years it's been on the range, dealing with both endangered and invasive species. This year, a big part of the discussion is over the possibility of sage grouse receiving a threatened listing from the federal government and letting these public officials get a seat-of-the-pants feel for how their decisions are impacting lives and livelihoods.
You can really watch the agency folks' paradigm shift to more of an accepting, work with you type of an attitude, and that's been a great portion of really the outcomes of doing this ride every year.
It's incredibly valuable.
Jeff Foss is the acting state director for the Bureau of Land Management, one of the federal agencies often at odds in their regulatory role with those who have lived and worked, grazed their cattle, and raised their families here for generations.
I've been participating since about 2003, and what it does, we hear of the issues from our field offices, but to actually not only see it on the ground, but hear from those that are most affected, there's no replacement for that. They put it from their perspective. How does it affect their ranch operation, their economics, and how does it affect their livelihood and their culture that they're trying to sustain generation to generation?
Well, we went through.
For rancher Ron Davison, he and his family are into their 100th year of ranching, or generation number 7. His concern? Current federal policies leave an open question as to the kind of ranching that will be available to generation number 8.
I just hope we still got enough of it for whoever wants it, down the line. Some of them might do other things, but for the ones that want a ranch, we should have some for them.
I like pushing calves.
They have worked their land and grazed their cattle on the federal land that borders it. On their side of the fence, they feel they have actively managed to prevent fire. thinning stands of timber and removing dead, dying, and diseased trees and reducing the fuel load by grazing their livestock. But when they look over the border of their property to the blackened and dead stands of trees on federal land, the concern that resonates is that once active management by the federal government has progressively turned more passive over the years, to the point some here believe it's degrading a shared public resource.
I don't know. They just look at it different out here. It's a public land that belongs to everybody, and we agree with that, you know. But they need to manage it different.
I think it is a legitimate concern. I think we share the same goals of trying to have a landscape, whether it's forest or rangeland, that's resilient and resistant if a wildfire comes through. I think there's new thoughts coming down the line that hopefully will translate into regulations that will allow us to act more quickly, but there is a difference.
As the riders travel up this draw, from private land into state land and finally towards federal land, one of those differences becomes pretty stark.
Okay, this is where the state land ends and the federal land begins. Use your outside voice, John.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Sundberg with the Idaho Department of Lands, and this is state endowment land that we just rode through with all the stumps. And this is a Forest Service boundary here, and what we started off in was Davidson's lands.
On the state side, after the 2013 fire that ravaged this landscape, 5 salvage timber sales representing 40 million board feet of salvageable lumber or 8,000 log truck loads were hauled out.
We were on this salvage within a couple weeks of conquering that the pony fire or the prairie fire.
State crews moved quickly to get these dead and dying trees out before all the timber value was lost.
We were actually road building while the fire was ongoing, and then we sold 3 additional sales after the fire.
And the price you were getting before the fire?
We got $27 a ton before the fire, and after the fire we sold this sale for $23 a ton, and the other 2 sales were $15 and $16.
And what do you get for this if you sell this?
That has no value right now.
I guess that tells the story.
This the governor was referring to is mile upon mile of federal land that stands pretty much how the fire left it. Thick with tens of thousands of trees that were once alive, but now dead. And while it may take years for the trees, the habitat, and the watersheds to recover, the restoration process on state and private land began even before the fire was completely out. 600,000 seedlings have already been planted on state land, with more on the way.
We'll plant 450,000 trees in the fall, and the following spring we'll plant 320,000 trees.
There are a lot of different uses on the National Forest, and we just need to balance that out. They were created for multiple uses, multiple benefits. And so our job as the Forest Service is to really talk with permittees, to talk with other stakeholders, and find that balance where we can protect the environment, but where we can also use those resources.
To cattlemen, those are encouraging words, but they also say they've been hearing words like that for a long time.
Sometimes I feel like they just tell me what I want to hear and they go back to DC and do as they please. But we've stayed involved and we've kept the line of communication open.
If we can utilize more of that fine fuel and that feed, then we lessen the chances of the catastrophic wildfire taking off. Having that flexibility is so important and an issue that we've never really seemed to overcome.
I think we have the ability to do that, and perhaps people don't always see that or feel that, but I think we have a real ability to do that because we have district rangers, we have staff on districts, we're located in communities. We're certainly challenged by the number of people we have and the time that we actually have to get out on the ground. I think any of us would love to see us out on the ground more, interacting with the permittees so that you have that conversation and really can achieve what they might call a common sense solution.
And for many of these ranchers, that's the hope that sustains them.
This function brings a lot of hope to some of them. I'd say that getting to experience the governor and working on behalf of bringing common sense, resource management, and actually adaptive management to the equation gives them hope.
I am very hopeful, and I say again, you know, 15 years ago, I don't think we would have had a 2014 agriculture bill that said to the governors, we want your opinion. We want your ideas about how to do this. We want your idea of common sense.